Something happened in the middle of a Broadway theater that even the most seasoned celebrities couldn't have scripted. A father sat in the audience, watching his son perform, and completely fell apart. No cameras on him, no stage directions, just a dad, overwhelmed with pride, tears rolling down his face while the audience around him had no idea who he was. And when they found out, one stranger leaned over and said 3 words that made it all even more beautiful. This is the story of Mark Consuelos, his son Joaquin, and a Broadway season that nobody saw coming, not even them. Welcome back to the channel. If you love heartwarming celebrity news and pop culture moments that remind you why we follow these families in the first place, you're in the right place. Today we're talking about one of the most talked about entertainment stories of the spring, the Consuelos family's unexpected and deeply emotional journey onto the Broadway stage. Now, if you know Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos, you know this is a couple who has never shied away from being real with their audience. From their 30-plus years of love to the daily banter on Live with Kelly and Mark, they've built something rare in Hollywood, a genuine, lasting, and deeply human public image. But what's been unfolding this spring? This goes beyond anything their daytime audience could have expected. Let's set the scene, because the backstory here makes this moment so much richer. Kelly Ripa has been a cornerstone of American daytime television for over 2 decades. She is, without question, one of the most enduring talk show hosts in the history of the genre, having marked 25 years on Live in 2025, tying Oprah Winfrey's record as the longest-running female daytime talk show host. That's not a small thing. That is a legacy. Mark Consuelos, her husband of nearly 30 years, joined her as co-host of Live with Kelly and Mark in April 2023. Together, they won the Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Talk Show Host in June 2024. The audience loved them, not just as television personalities, but as a couple who actually liked each other, actually laughed with each other, and actually brought their real lives into the studio every single morning. Together, they have 3 children, Michael, Lola, and their youngest, Joaquin. And Joaquin? He has always had a story of his own. Years ago, Kelly and Mark were open on Live about Joaquin's struggles with dyslexia and dysgraphia. Mark, in particular, admitted he had worried about whether his son would even be able to go to college. He got emotional discussing it on air. He said he never imagined the path ahead would open up the way it did. But open up it did, in the most extraordinary way. Joaquin graduated from the University of Michigan's prestigious School of Music, Theater, and Dance in 2025. And his very first professional acting role after graduation? Broadway. Not off-Broadway. Not a workshop. Broadway. Here's where this story gets truly remarkable, and honestly a little cinematic. In the spring of 2026, Joaquin Consuelos made his Broadway debut in a critically acclaimed revival of Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman. He plays young Biff Loman, the eldest son of the iconic tragic character Willie Loman, alongside legendary Broadway performers Nathan Lane and Laurie Metcalf, both Tony Award winners. The production, directed by Joe Mantello, has been one of the most talked about shows of the Broadway season. But here's the twist that made this story viral the moment it broke. At the exact same time, in the same city, Joaquin's father, Mark Consuelos, also made his Broadway debut. Mark landed a role as Marcos Duclos in the Roundabout Theater Company's revival of Noel Coward's Fallen Angels, starring alongside Golden Globe winner Rose Byrne and Tony Award winner Kelly O'Hara. Father and son, both on Broadway, at the same time, in 2 different productions. Neither of them planned it that way. Speaking to the New York Times for a piece published on June 1st, Mark was candid about how long it took them to process the coincidence. It took a couple of weeks for us to actually realize we were going to be on stage at the same time, he said, and that it was interesting and odd and cool. And then he said something that really captured just how new all of this was for both of them. Joaquin had started rehearsals first, so Mark, the seasoned television star with decades of experience, leaned on his son for guidance. A father asking his son for advice about the theater. That right there is the kind of full circle moment that doesn't come along very often. Now here is the moment that everyone has been talking about. The moment that has fans across the internet wiping their eyes. Before Death of a Salesman officially opened, the production held preview performances. Kelly Ripa, ever the respectful mom, had agreed to wait until opening night per Joaquin's specific request. She even reportedly left town during the preview period to resist the temptation of sneaking in. And we love that about her. Mark, on the other hand, he quietly grabbed a last-minute ticket to a preview. He didn't tell anyone. He just went. He sat in that theater and watched his youngest child, the boy he had once worried might not make it to college because of his learning challenges, perform on one of the most storied stages in the world. And Mark Consuelos, the man known for his charismatic presence on television every single morning, sat there in the dark and cried. I was watching him with a smile on my face, Mark recalled on Live with Kelly and Mark, and cried. He said he did not blink for the entire 3-hour performance. Not once. But that wasn't the end of the story. As Joaquin took his first curtain call bow, the woman sitting next to Mark, a complete stranger, turned to him and said, Mazel Tov, your son was amazing. She had recognized the connection. And those 4 words from a stranger in a Broadway house summed up everything that Mark was feeling in that moment. After the show, Joaquin signed his father's playbill. And when Mark showed it off on Live the next day, Kelly took one look at the signature, and only the way Kelly Ripa can, quipped. That's his autograph? We gotta work on that. The audience erupted. Even in the most beautiful moments, these two keep it real. Fans and media alike have responded to this story with an outpouring of warmth. Entertainment news outlets from People magazine to Parade to Broadway World have covered the Consuelos' father-son Broadway debut extensively, calling it one of the most heartwarming celebrity family stories of the season. On social media, fans of Live with Kelly and Mark began flooding comment sections with messages of pride and love for the family. The phrase Broadway family trended in entertainment conversations almost immediately after the New York Times piece dropped. People connected deeply with the idea of a father and son, side by side, both doing something brave and new and leaning on each other to do it. And Kelly, she became a symbol of proud mom energy done right. From joking about who do I see tonight when both Mark and Joaquin were performing simultaneously, to sitting in the audience on opening night with happy tears of her own, she captured something every parent could relate to. It was unbelievable, Kelly said on Live after watching Joaquin perform. The entire production is incredible, and just to see Joaquin up there took my breath away. She paused and laughed. If you would have told me when he was a newborn that 22 years from now he'd be starring on Broadway in Death of a Salesman, I would have thought you were on drugs. What makes this story resonate so deeply, beyond the celebrity angle, is the human one. Here is a young man who faced real challenges growing up. Joaquin Consuelos struggled with learning differences that made his parents genuinely uncertain about what his future would look like. His father cried about it publicly years ago. His mother carried that worry too. And then, piece by piece, Joaquin found his footing in sports at Michigan, then in theater, then on the stage, then on Broadway. And in the New York Times interview, it was Joaquin who reportedly got emotional discussing the experience of sharing this chapter with his dad. The idea of looking up from the wings and knowing your father is across the city on a different stage, both of you doing the same brave thing for the very first time, is the kind of moment that transcends celebrity news. It becomes something much more universal. This is a story about fathers and sons, about perseverance, about the unexpected paths that lead us to the moments we never dared to dream about. For Live with Kelly and Mark, this has been more than just a ratings moment. It has reinforced exactly why the show has endured for so long. Because at its heart, it isn't just a talk show. It's a daily conversation between two people who genuinely live their lives out loud and invite their audience to feel something real. Fans who have followed this family through milestones. The early years on All My Children, where Kelly and Mark first met, the wedding, the kids growing up, the empty nest conversations, the difficult loss of Mark's father earlier this year. feel genuinely invested in the Consuelos story. And moments like this Broadway chapter remind everyone why. Joaquin's run in Death of a Salesman continues through August 9th. Mark's Fallen Angels closed on June 7th. But the story of this father-son Broadway season? That's going to be told for a long time. There's something quietly extraordinary about the image of Mark Consuelos sitting in a Broadway theater, in the dark, watching his son perform, a son he once worried might not find his path, and just crying. Not for the cameras, not for a morning show segment, just a dad undone by love and pride in one of the most beautiful, unexpected moments a parent could ever have. And the fact that he got to live it at the same time his son was living it, both of them first-timers on Broadway, both of them figuring it out together, makes it all feel like something out of a movie. The kind of movie that ends with a standing ovation. So here's my question for you today. If you were Kelly Ripa and both your husband and your son were performing on Broadway at the same time, whose show do you see first? Drop your answer in the comments below. I genuinely want to know. And if you enjoyed this celebrity update, subscribe for more entertainment news and Hollywood stories. New videos every week, right here on the channel. See you in the next one.